truth and preservation of our soul shine. I can feel it, yours and mine. Close your eyes and witness it inside. In your bones, you will know. Trust and let go, and let it flow.
Welcome to another episode of All Things in the Name of Love. And today I have with me beautiful soul, past life regressionist, among many, many other things, Kent Reiswig. And I want to thank you so much for being a guest and welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you. So I want to start out, how I usually do is like, tell me a little bit about your journey.
What specifically? Well, I grew up in a small town called Malaqua, BC.
Okay.
And when I was 10, we moved to Kamloops. And then I moved to small Sicamous, BC when I was 15.
Okay.
And do you want to know more like how I got into this line of work?
Well, I want to know a little bit about like, what have you always been intuitive? Have you like, how's that?
Well, okay, so I guess the first inkling of kind of like inspiration, I suppose, that I ever sort of okay, when I was about 8 years old, I was in my room and I was just sitting there and lying in bed, and I saw this. It sounds like a cliche, but I saw a beam of light shooting through my room, and I saw all these like dust swirling around in the light.
Oh, cool.
And it just it's sort of an epiphany hit my 8-year-old brain. I was like, maybe that's kind of everything. Like maybe that dust, there's like a universe in that dust. And our universe is just the dust of another. Our universe is just swirling around in some other room, inside another room, inside another room. So it just kind of, that was, I guess, was my first sort of mini awakening, I guess, if you will, of.
Love that.
That sparked my interest, I guess. I've always been somewhat interested in metaphysical things.
Mm-hmm. I get that. I love that curiosity and that awareness. I remember when I was 10, because I was intuitive and I wanted to know how to pray. Because, you know, I was told I was supposed to pray. So I went to my minister. I'm like, so how do you pray? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, how do you pray? And he's like, you pray. I'm like, not helpful. But like, I knew there was something more. And I just wanted to connect with it, even though I also had like a bunch of tumult in my life as a kid. I wanted to simultaneously go towards and run away from the energy because of the context I grew up in, and I didn't have anyone to explain it. So did you have anything similar to that?
I always kind of had to like someone to explain it to me. I never really had anyone to explain anything to me. I always kind of figured I've always figured out things the hard way. Just
Okay.
I was told I'm very difficult. And I was actually told that literally 10 seconds after I was born, I was like rubbing my head and banging my head into like the wall. So I would now, basically thinking back, I would assume that's probably because now the kind of work I'm into, I would assume, well, yeah, I probably was like, I'm back here.
Oh my God, not again.
Not again. I thought I was done with this, but yeah. I kind of always sort of had to figure out everything kind of on my own, a little bit.
I get that.
Until I got into this kind of work and took this training, and my teacher helped me a lot with this kind of thing. But
well,
yeah.
How did you fall into this? Because I mean, past life regression is a fascinating. I've had sessions of past life regression, and I'm like, I have an old soul because I've stuff I've uncovered is like, oh my God, how many thousands of years or concurrent lifespan? I don't even know how it is like past lives, is concurrent lives, is the whole thing. So how did you fall into?
Well, I think it's concurrent lives. I think everything is again, it sounds like a cliche, but everything is one and everything's always happening at the same time. But it only seems like a past, like you just call it a past life for lack of a better word. But I think it's everything is concurrently happening at the same time, but we're only able to experience from this sliver piece of time from this conscious vantage point, if that's making any sense.
Oh, it totally makes sense. Yeah, I've actually talked to my I am presence, the source that I am. I'm like, okay, I am presence. I know I'm a fractal of you, 100% aware of this, and that you are the all that is, and I'm a fractal of that. So like, get that. Can this third dimensional construct in a carbon-based body get a little support here? And I always get, of course you do. Like, why wouldn't you think you get support? But like having the awareness that like this iteration of the me that we all are, like how to recognize that I'm experiencing myself through this iteration of me. It gets kind of trippy, but it's also pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of, I think maybe the reason why they invented like reincarnation is so you can experience yourself in different points of view, so you can kind of get the human condition.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I
actually
don't know who they is. I don't want to even get into that, but whoever is in the architect of this universe, or I always have a joke. If people are like, oh, I can't get this done, I can't get this done, I'll never figure it out. It's like, well, that's why they invented time, because we can't do it all figure it all at once.
I get it. I've since I was little, I'm like, I want to be able to live long enough to use all the gifts I have. I know some of the gifts I have. I know there's more gifts that just haven't awakened yet, but like I just want to like experience it all, because like why not?
That's probably the concept behind reincarnating, so you can like do everything. That's kind of one of my theories anyway.
Oh, I love it. I want to talk more about that. Like, how did you get into, like, did you have a past life regression, or what was the
I
inspiration?
had a past. I was because okay, so I had this weird dream about my grandma. I never really had, like, my way into this was never, most people's way into this kind of thing is like a very traumatic near death experience, or like hitting rock bottom, or something like that's generally. But I never really hit rock bottom, and I've never had a near death experience. It's more, I've always kind of paid attention to just subtle nudges. And so anyway, I had a strange dream about my grandma.
Okay.
And who has passed. And in the dream, it was the context of the dream was, we ended up back at my friend's basement, was where we hung out as teenagers. Like, it was like the party place. And there's no way in a million lifetimes my grandma would ever show up at the basement. But so anyway, in the dream, my grandma's in the basement. And then I kind of snapped out of the dream kind of narrative, like it got lucid in the dream, I guess. And I was like, oh, so I kind of was like, I'm dreaming and you're here. She's like, yeah. And I said, well, what's dying like? She's like, well, it's no different than going from one room to the next. And I was like, well, is it scary? She's like, no, it's not scary at all. Life can be scarier. I'm always here to guide you when you're down or angry.
Wow.
And then so I woke up, and I woke up right after that, and I was like, okay, that was a bit of a out of the norm dream. Like, I don't usually have dreams like that, or at least I don't remember them as often. And then I had kind of like, it was almost like, I guess, a debriefing or a follow-up dream to that dream about 2 weeks later.
Okay.
Where she was kind of like, did you get the message? Kind of almost confirming that I got the message. Like, yeah, I got the message. And this is kind of what kind of gave me, I guess, the permission to maybe go in this wild direction. She said that her beliefs, she was always regretted the fact that her beliefs were kind of pushed on her, and that she was impressed or proud of the fact that I'd kind of discovered my own path without prodding from outside.
That's
So
beautiful.
then I started getting interested in. I've always kind of been interested in mystical things, but I kind of doubled down on the interest. Like I
Mhm.
started reading books about reincarnation and videos and watching things, and then I mean, I'd always heard of reincarnation. It's most people have heard of it, but I didn't know anything what past life regression was until I kind of started digging into it more. And I was like, oh, there's a technique where you can actually remember a past life. Well, wow,
Mm.
that's super interesting.
Yeah.
So I kind of stewed on it because I was a little bit nervous to get one because it seems intimidating, which it's
Yeah.
not. But um, so I booked a session and I had a session and I was I don't know, it was just interesting. And then I kind of started was oh, I really want to do this as a I don't know, it could like I'm not psychic, but could you have to be a psychic to be a regressionist? And it turns out you don't have to be. Um, so I looked into taking a course and took the course and got the training and now I'm talking to you.
That's so beautiful. I love that because like I had a similar path. I was receiving body talk sessions for like, I don't know, 6 years. And then I was an historian. The last job I did was a research project for the centennial of a lumber company that did clear cutting in Oregon. It was really depressing. And I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. And so I started taking body talk classes. And the second class I took was something called Body Talk Access for Animals. And I'm here. The animal I'm working on is I'm in Oregon, and the dog is in Ireland. And called on a phone, 12, there's 12 people in the class, and the person that had the dog couldn't call into Zoom. So I'm looking at a phone from the instructor who didn't zoom herself into the big picture. She just kept herself as one of the 12 squares. I'm going like this, and I start tapping. And the dog from like hopping up and down to falling asleep. I was like, dogs in Ireland, I'm in Oregon. How did that happen? And that's what opened me up to consciousness. And then I,
Yeah, from what yeah, like I'm not an expert. It's like that Einstein spooky action at a distance kind of thing, where it's
Mhm.
the time and the distance have absolutely no bearing on it.
No.
Like, or that's saying that how does it go? It's something like there's absolutely no difference between the space between two molecules or atoms in the body. The space between those is exactly the same as the space between two galaxies. Like it's
Yeah.
like wrap your head around that one. Like
I know. It's like,
it's weird like contradictions and weird like what's the word paradoxes.
yeah.
Everything's a paradox when you get kind of interested in this kind of stuff.
Oh, I totally get it. Like I'm sitting with a dog who's a beautiful pit bull. Um, I noticed a couple sits ago that I just looked in the dog's eyes and something shifted. And I'm looking at him and he's looking at me, and we're like, no, we're recognizing each other as fractals of the same thing. Like, and he's a lab, like, and he's older. So like the fact that this actually came, I mean, I saw him a few weeks later and he was just like, she's back. Oh my, she's back. Oh my God, she is back. And was just so excited to see me because like we had that entanglement.
Mm-hmm.
And so since then, since him, I'm like intentionally like making eye contact with at least one dog because it's I'm not trying to create quantum entanglement, but I am because I'm already with them. So I'm like, okay, how does this work? Or how this going to help me like enhance my psychic abilities and with this beautiful pit bull? 100%. Because last night I slept about 2 hours. I had subconscious things come up in me. Thank you, full moon in Scorpio. That I didn't know I had. And so this morning I'm just like, and all day today I'm just like trying to be in that space of compassion and nurturing. And she normally is a hyper pity, but she's feeling into my energy. She's like, oh, I could have a chill day. And I'm petting her softly, and she's like, oh, I haven't ever felt this before. So she's entangled with me because like she's feeling my energies, and that can happen consciously or unconsciously, but I prefer to do it consciously.
Well, yeah, I think that's kind of same as like even people that aren't into this kind of stuff are always like that guy puts out a vibe or that person puts out like everything I think yeah everything puts out some kind of vibe. Like we're all just antennas receiving
Yeah.
and sending out whatever, like consciously or unconsciously. And I think everything affects everything, really. Like,
Oh yeah, 100%. So what have you discovered on your journey of doing these past life regressions? Like how have you seen your awareness expand?
how have I seen my awareness expand? Well, I don't know how I can answer about my awareness, but it's more so can I prove that a past life regression is real? No, but not it's because it's anecdotal evidence. Like, but can you prove that love is real? No, you just know it, you feel it. But so back, I'm kind of rambling, but back to what I'm like, the anecdotal evidence is so I did my very first regression was I regressed the client and they remembered a life in this small town in the 1950s. In I think it was Wyoming. I need my notes. I'm not thinking about my notes, but some in a small town in Wyoming. I forget the name of the town, but I mean, I'd never heard of this place, and then after the session, because I don't want to just blindly believe what was regression. I did it, but so it was. She named the place like Duncan Road, Wyoming, the place neither of us had ever heard of.
Okay.
And I looked, like we had Googled it after and looked at it, and it looked it kind of looked like middle America in the 50s, like a beautiful, like a small house on the road. And it looked, it looked pretty much like what I was being described in the session. And she named, like, where do you live? Duncan Road, Wyoming. And it showed up on a Google map. So I don't know, is that overwhelming proof that there's a session, like it actually happened? But it's just enough to kind of make me think there's something there.
I totally get that. I remember
and I have other sessions with examples similar to that. Like a client remembered, this dying in a fire in this small town in Ontario, a town neither of us had ever heard of. And it turns out after the session, I of course looked into it. I forget the name of the town off the top of my head, but it did in fact burn down in 1914. So
no, I had a session where I was a nun. I think it was in the 13th or 14th century in a hospital or something like that, where I was caregiving for others in Switzerland. And there was an earthquake in Switzerland. I'm like, Switzerland doesn't have earthquakes. So I did the same thing. I Googled it, and yep, there was a random earthquake in Switzerland at the time that I was supposed to be there, and a hospital collapsed. And I was carrying the guilt of not being able to save all my patients. I'm like, that is so fascinating.
I know and I guess so to go, it's a very long-winded way to answer your question. How do I word this so I don't sound like a rambling moron? My awareness, I guess is increased, and my confidence in this is validated by kind of little anecdotes like that. So is it overwhelming proof? No, but it's just enough to kind of feel like it's on to something tangible. And
I completely
that. Another thing to like, if you like, when I Googled that map of that where she said she lived in Wyoming, it kind of went right to a graveyard. So like you could literally probably maybe find the grave of this like it's just wild when you like.
And so fascinating.
And when I think about it more, like you could die in a fire over 100 years ago and still be sitting in my office and you're just fine. So ultimately everything, it works out.
Yeah, it's just
so that is nice.
It is so fast. I remember I had a session once, and I was a healer practicing in Paris. I think it was in the 1700s or something like that. And I was doing modalities that were banned in Paris. And I was set up, caught, and the magistrate was a friend of mine that I had a very fascinating dynamic with, and he burned me at the stake. So in this session, I was able to like kind of change the ending. So I'd taken herbs so I wouldn't feel it. And so I was able to like look at him like, oh, you think you killed me, but you didn't. You just like, I'm just showing you that like you're messing with the divine feminine. After that session, he started acting differently to me. I was like, interesting, because I didn't know, but that person was the person that my friend was the person that had sentenced me to death.
Oh, so the person the regressionist that did your session was the person that
No, the person, my friend that I had this very dynamic relationship with, we're kind of a couple, but not. I don't even know how to describe it. He came up in the session with me as the person that killed me.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
In this life, you have this complex relationship, and in that life, he killed you.
Yeah. And
yeah,
when
that's probably a very common thing. Like,
yeah, it's just fascinating to see like how
I know it blows your mind, this kind of stuff. Like another one that always kind of I never really started when I never thought about before I started getting into this was, so if you had kids from a past life with maybe in somewhat recent history, they could be like people like walking around now. Like I don't know, like it's just, and maybe there's someone you have met, like,
oh yeah, like I
don't know, it boggles your, like, so again, it goes back to everything's connected. Like that's another to go back to your question about expanding my consciousness, thinking like it really does prove that everything is connected in some strange way.
Oh yeah, I totally get it. I remember after my dad,
I know I'm not really explaining, I'm kind of rambling, but I
get it.
Yeah.
I get it. When my dad died, I felt him scatter across the universe. And then a couple years ago, I had a friend say, "Oh, your dad's reincarnated." I'm like, "Really? Where?" And she said, "I'm not sure where, but he's a she now." And I'm like, "Oh, that's so cool," because he was such a sensitive man, like super, super sensitive, loved nature, loved connecting, just kind, soft, gentle human being. And the fact that that soul decided to incarnate into a female body this time, I'm like, oh, that I love that, because like that feels good, because I think that's what that soul wanted to be. Because I mean, I learned so much about connecting with nature from my dad, that it just warmed my heart to know that he's like on this plane again, exploring another level. So
I wonder, have you dug into it and know exactly who it is?
no, I haven't been guided to. I do research when I'm guided to. I used to do research all the time, and I was like a news junkie, and I find things, but like now it's like, okay, do I need to know that? No, I just know that I can feel that energy is on the planet again, and it just makes me feel good. I don't need to know who that person is. So,
but yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, it's just, you could be burnt at a stake. You could, like, it's just all,
oh yeah, it's all fascinating.
It all works out though, really. Like,
yeah. Oh, and it all balances. And I think we've been different players in different lifetimes for the experience. Like, so let's say like this iteration, I'm doing the best I can to be a good person, but in previous iterations or other iterations, I might have been the villain or whatever, an evil person.
I'm sure you had to be. And I always kind of, this is a question I don't quite, I've heard different points of view. Do you, because I've heard that everyone comes in, this is a question I want to answer in my work, and get my own answer, but I've heard different points of view. Some people choose to be the villain, but I've also heard different contradictory points of other regressionists who I follow, said that no one chooses to be the villain. You only get swept up in it if you let your ego run wild. So I've never quite
Hmm.
come to my own. I think again, it's a paradox. I think
Yeah.
it's both too.
Yeah, I think so too, because like we don't grow if we don't have contrast.
Well, yeah, I think everything is about learning, like, because you can't learn what love is unless you experience some hate.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I don't know. I think that the villain might be you choose to be a villain.
Mm-hmm. I that's my
It's
sense.
a wacky question.
Or you're like, let's say like in the ether in consciousness, like you're one and one says, I want to learn this lesson, and the other aspect of you says, okay, I'm going to be the one that teaches you that lesson. That's a possibility. I don't really know.
That yeah, I've heard that too, but I've also heard that no one ever chooses. Everyone goes in with the intention to do the best they can, but there's probabilities that you won't, and then you accept that you might not. Like that, I don't know.
I know it's fascinating because like, I knew when I came in that I was meant for great things. Nothing in my to date life shows great things other than like I'm trying to remember the divine being that I am, by uncovering the unconscious pieces that keep me from remembering. And I remember that when I was with my former partner, like I got a massive, like it wasn't a nudge, it was a shove to go off on a massive spiritual quest, which I've done for the past 5 years. Like it was crazy. But like it was because my soul demanded that I remember who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I apologize about the occasional barks because
Oh, I can't hear nothing.
okay, good. You may. um, but like I didn't actively choose that until I did. You know what I mean? So there's this level of unconscious programs and then the awakening from that or the remembering from that of the things that we've learned and the things that we've gotten epigenetically, to like, wait a minute, this doesn't work for me. Like your grandmother, she got conditioned into programs and she regretted that. And so when we are able to unwind those things and we can remember that we're the aspect of the I am presence, I think that opens up a lot. Excuse me for a second.
That one I did hear.
Yeah. Okay. No, she's good. I'm like, okay, that was just a thing. That all of the illusions of the separation that we feel, kind of dissolve when we get in that space of like, oh, I've done this before, or like I think the gift of past life regressions is that we can see the totality of ourselves
Mm-hmm.
more.
Yeah, it puts things in context.
Yeah.
Or you might like not beat yourself up over why you're a certain way. It's like, well,
Yeah.
why am I so afraid of water for no good reason? Well, you drowned, like, so that's not a big like.
Right.
That's explainable. That can be explained away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, with the past life regressions, from my experience, I don't know how your sessions go, but in mine, sometimes I get to rewrite the ending. I'm not sure if that's something you do or if that's something that just you just bring into awareness for the person to better explain themselves.
Mm-hmm. I also wonder too if the rewriting the ending. I wonder if that's a bit of like a weird changing of a timeline because
Yeah, I don't know.
like because a lot of these like Mandela effects are increasing because I think because a lot of people are doing this kind of stuff. So I wonder, in effect, you're going back in time to kind of like I wonder if you actually are going back in time and fixing that past you and rewriting, and then it ripples back into you. Like
Yeah, I don't know. I think it does. I don't know.
I suspect it does. I'm not going to sit here and say I know for sure it does, but
Right.
I suspect it does.
I mean, if we're working on other aspects of the I of us, it would make sense that it would have an impact on this iteration. If it's epigenetically, if it's past lives, if it's belief systems, whatever it is gonna show up differently than we've been able to before the session, I think. Have you noticed that with your clients, or like have they shifted at all in their awareness?
Um, I'm not sure. They don't. I've never had the same client twice,
Okay.
really. Actually, I know that's not true. I've had a couple twice, but um, none of my clients have ever came to me for a specific. It's always been curiosity.
Okay.
Um, but they do say that they feel, I guess, somewhat of a. I don't know if their consciousness has been totally expanded exactly, but they always feel like, okay, that makes sense. Like that's why I have a problem with authority, because I'm thinking of one specific client. That's why I have a problem with authority, because I was executed by the state. Like,
Yeah, that makes sense. It totally makes sense. And so like it I think like having past life regressions, like it helps us better understand how we show up in the world. Like it's one of the many aspects of how we show up in the world. Like I had this awesome awareness this morning that one of my trauma responses was disassociating myself because I didn't have the skills to process as a little one. And so I felt this morning all of the,
what kid does though, really?
huh?
What kid does though, really?
Right, exactly. And so like for me to like have the awareness and to see all the ways I've disassociated myself from myself and then like embracing all of those aspects of me, I didn't sleep very much, but you know, the compassion I have for that part of me that was too scared to know how to process, it's amazing. And so like just one of the many tools, like I use somatic work too, and sort of feel all the aches I'm feeling right now because I didn't sleep very much. Knowing that like compassion is the only way I can get through this is like I'm so grateful for that I have the awareness to know what compassion looks like and feels like.
Mm-hmm.
So what has been the most fascinating experience you've had while doing this?
Well, there's a point in the session where I gotta think about this a little bit. There's a point. Well, it's just, I guess, when people seem to be stuck in the same patterns for life after life. Like I had one client, she remembered 3 past lives where she was an only child from money, like born into a wealthy family.
Mhm.
And in this current life, she's in a more of a middle class family. And she basically had the same love triangle with the same 2 guys over in the 3 lives and then this current life.
Mhm.
Or it seemed that way anyway. Like,
Okay.
it's just, I don't know, it's just interesting how the same patterns can be played out, but in just different ways. I don't know. I find that fascinating.
Oh yeah.
And another point, there's always a point in the session, the kind of sessions I do. I usually, sort of how I structured as I go, and it doesn't go according to structure, but it kind of goes in a wild way. But if I can, I go to a key scene of the past life that has to do with why you want to see me. Then I move to another scene in that life, and then I move to the death scene, And then after the death scene, I moved to like a point in the session where you can actually you visualize like a sitting space, and you could bring someone in to the to talk to, like a guide, a loved one, kind of whoever.
Mm-hmm.
That part's always interesting because people can talk. Actually, here I just remembered something. So the first session I did, I brought my client. So in the sitting space, I brought my client into the sitting space, and she was talking to her friend. And so during the sitting space part, I actually leave the room and kind of just walk away and let it go down. I kind of keep my eye on the clock and give it about 5 minutes. And then after, this is all kind of in your mind's eye, but after the session, we were talking about the session. I was like, well, so how did the sitting space go? She's like, oh, I brought in my friend. I forget his name. And he said, yeah, I'm good. I'm glad. She's like, I like this guy giving the session. I like him. And I was like, oh, cool. I got a nod from the other side. So that was fascinating.
Yeah.
That's so I don't know, just think like this. It's not, there's so many weird little things that are fascinating. I can't really think of just one, honestly. But I was like, oh, I'm getting a nod from your buddy. He's like, yeah, he's all right. I like him. So that was cool.
Cool. Yeah, I love that. I think for me, when I do sessions, the most fascinating thing is like what comes through, because I have no idea, right? And so I'm pretty much just like I'm a channel for what the animal needs for healing. And so when they come through me, they just use me as like the voice, and I write everything down in a formula. And sometimes I hear my left brain go, wow, I've never heard that before, because like it's just so fascinating, because it's always a surprise. And I'm wondering if like that happens with you. Do you get surprised?
Well, yeah, because I'm actually pretty left-brained, and like I'm a logical, like I don't know, I have this good, I guess, logic, but I also accept this irrational crazy, that seems like crazy stuff too.
Yeah.
So, but I'm very like, I like my notes. I like, today I'm doing this, tomorrow I'm doing that. So my first session, I had it kind of like, I ask this question, I get this answer. I ask this question, I get this answer. No, that didn't happen. It went way, my little cute little questions that I had prepped up went way out the window. So I was like, okay, there's a bit of structure, but a lot of like flow within the structure. Which I figured, I learned that fast.
And I love that you spoke to like the even though you know what you're doing, like there's this like, is this for real kind of thing? Because I used to do that when I first started doing body talk. I'm like checking myself regularly. I'm like, did that actually come through? So it was like, I asked my clients for recommendations, because I just want to know what's happening with the animals. It's like, please give me feedback, because I don't know. I mean, I know what came through the session, and I call in the highest healing. Little feedback would be great. Because I don't know. The best one was, I had a sheep that was going to be put down because she was lame, and I did a session, and she had heartache in her right elbow because her brother just died. So we deactivated that, and within a week she was walking, and her human did a video of her like testing her legs out, and it was really cool. Sorry. The four-legged.
Yeah, I know, it's fascinating stuff, this type. A lot of it though, you can't, like I was saying before, you can't really prove per se.
No.
You could have these little anecdotes and really have faith and trust that and if you're honest with yourself, like, because I don't want to just, I mean, I want to believe that what I'm doing is an actual, but I can't just, yes, I did the regression. That was definitely like, no, I want to actually almost do what I can to just prove myself, to prove that it's true, if that makes sense.
No, I totally get it, because
I don't want to just accept it like willy-nilly, like, oh, I'm
That's your left brain. Like I remember I was studying like I took a couple classes at quantum university because like my left brain really wants to understand quantum physics. And like once my left brain started getting the like complexities and the expansion of quantum physics, I didn't question myself as much anymore because it was like I already know it. Like I know it in my heart, and my left brain just wanted to like confirm it
well,
because
yeah, brain probably on the rational nuts and
oh
bolts
yeah, 100%
before.
like I want to understand this. Like, well, I can't really understand it because like it just is. And so the more I allow myself to be in that space of just accepting it, the deeper the sessions go.
Yeah, that's the trick though, like, because you don't want to like, yeah, to me it's kind of a balance. Like you don't want to just assume. Yeah, I would like a little bit of tangible left brain proof, but sometimes, yeah, you can't always get that. You have to
Yeah.
kind of accept the intuition or the.
Yeah. It's a challenge. I know this firsthand. It's a challenge, but like I also know that I don't know a lot. I thought I did. I really don't.
There's a joke from a movie. It's the knowledge of non-knowledge is power.
That's true. That is so damn true because like we can't know. I mean, I know some things. I know how to bake. That's cool. But like I don't know how to explain how the ingredients come together. I don't know how like the magic happens. I just know it happens. Um, I don't need to.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't need to be a doctor for you to kind of reside over the functions of your body. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like, I don't know anything about like doctor medical biology things,
Yeah.
but my my I seem to be doing well because my body functions fairly good. So I kind of know it. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. It's pretty fascinating. So I'm in the interest of the fact that I have another one in like 15 minutes. I'm going to ask you the final question, and that is how
Yeah,
to
of course.
find you.
Focushypnotic.com.
Awesome.
And yeah, and the sessions can be done over Zoom or in person in my home office in Kelowna, BC.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Ken, I want to thank you so much for your time and your
Oh,
wisdom
absolutely.
and for sharing your story. And I really appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you as well.
You're welcome.
It was a blast.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. Till next time.